Hello and welcome to Module 2 in the Dress for Health online course, the topic of rest. Rest goes beyond just sleep, so we'll be talking about sleep, but also how to create a lifestyle of rest. Some core discoveries are: what are the 7 types of rest? How do habit and hygiene and hormones restore sleep quality? What are some sleep issues? How are those developing? What are the causes? And what can we do about them to restore natural circadian rhythms? And then a biblical view of rest as a whole. So the R in our Dress for Health stands for rest. And there are 7 different types of rest. I don't know if you ever thought about it this way, but are you getting all of them? These are areas of our lives that we need to regularly recharge. Because you see, rest is really about rhythm. We alternate between a rhythm of rest and work. And if we're missing the rest equation in our lives as a whole, across physical rest, when we think of sleeping, we think of mental rest or sensory rest or creative rest, emotional, social, and spiritual. All 7 of these areas just simply mean taking a break, stop the problem solving, avoid the emotional distress, disconnect from social media and sensory stimulatory things, spiritually meditate and pray. Those are the types of things that we characterize these rest categories. Do any one of these rest types resonate with you? Do you feel like you're getting all of them? Do you feel like you unplug mentally or unplug emotionally? Or take a break from people if you're a very people person? Do you feel like you're getting all 7 of these types of rest in your life? Let's take a closer look, and maybe that can help answer that question. So rest is more than just sleep. It's regularly and intentionally setting aside time to recharge. Sometimes we don't even realize we need it. So when we're talking about physical rest, and we mean it's all about rhythm, here we go. Circadian rhythm dictates your sleep-wake cycle. And is it working for you or is it working against you? Physical rest could also include wake times such as a massage or light stretching, or allowing our joints and muscles really to stay loose and not be sore. So there's an element of physical rest where we're awake, but really when we talk about physical rest, we're really talking about the sleep cycle. Type 2 is mental rest. Do we have a time of day where we just mentally unplug from work, from projects, from studies? This habit can help you fall asleep right away, improve your memory, concentration, even increase your productivity by mentally taking a break. And type 3 is emotional rest. Do you find yourself interacting with emotionally draining people? Is there a specific circumstance or person in your life that steals almost all your emotional energy? So emotional rest is taking a break or being able to regulate who is draining and who isn't, and not filling our days with multiple draining people. Finding safe channels to release emotions can be a big piece of emotional rest. Type 4, spiritual rest. Do you fill your spirit with joy and truth and peace and worship? Our spirits are set apart from any other creature on earth. So animals don't have the same type of spirit that we do. Our spirit is our connection point to eternity that holds our belief system. We find meaning and purpose, belonging, peace, fulfillment when we take time to rest our spirits and filling it with faith in the Creator God. So you gotta take time to spiritually rest. And type 5, creative rest. Do you give yourself permission to rest from constant problem solving? I know, especially for us women and moms, we're trying to keep everything in order, all the time. How do we fix this, coordination problem? How do we get the kids here to there? And taking time to appreciate the beauty, to unwind from innovation, is creative rest. So spending time outside, viewing scenic pictures, listening to music, draw, color, even write a poem. You think of that, well, I'm actually being creative. But creative rest is really more the outlet of expression versus the pressure to solve a problem or be innovative. So type 6 is social rest. Do we spend time with people who don't need anything from you? That's a neat question. Do I spend time with people who don't need anything from me? A lot of times we gravitate to the need to be needed And do we spend time with people that aren't demanding of us on our lives? That can be social rest. We are social beings. Surrounding ourselves with life-giving people fills us, keeps us energized. Pouring into others can be fulfilling, but it could also be draining if we never balance that with allowing others to pour into us. And then type 7, sensory rest. Do we notice all the sensory stimulation you often unconsciously process all day? Sensory overload can lead to burnout, irritability, apathy, and even anger. So taking a break from social media, the news, TV, screen time, just being cognizant and recognizing when we need rests in all of these type of areas. You'd be surprised at how much more productive and much more happy and emotionally stable, energetic you'll feel when we get the right amount of rest that we need. So we look at rest from a 3H perspective. We're talking about habits, we're talking about hygiene, we're talking about hormones. When we're thinking about a habit, we're talking about just our basic routine. What's the rhythm of our week, our day, our month, our year? What's the work-rest rhythm we have? What does it look like daily? What does it look like weekly to build a rest routine? And we look at hygiene, we talk about the environment itself. What's the rest environment, especially for sleep, that makes it most conducive to get some really good quality rest? And then hormones. How do our literal biochemical messengers impact rest? So we're talking about metabolic balance and blood sugar regulation. We're talking about stress response and cortisol. We're talking about gut health. All those things impact hormones that can impact rest. So let's break these down. Habits, hygiene, and hormones. Your habit of rest, let's look at it daily. The recommendation based on God's design is to follow the light as much as we can. So God's designed darkness and light to rule the night and rule the day. The light rules the work hours and the night rules the rest hours. So following the light just means getting up close, 30, 40, an hour right after the sun rises and it's light outside, and then going to bed within the same amount of time frame, maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half after the sun sets. And our circadian rhythm, if it's in balance and working properly, reflects this cycle. So ideally, 10 p.m. for most people to 6 a.m. is the best cycle of circadian rhythm of sleep. 10 p.m. being enough time to give our bodies the chance to go through some deeper sleep cycles before liver detox hits at 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. So if we're going to bed at midnight, chances are we're not getting enough sleep cycles in before liver detox time, and we may not be detoxifying adequately or optimally during that time of the night. Weekly, in God's Word, from a Christian biblical perspective, there is a design to our work week. And it's one day, 24-hour day of rest, one time a week. When we follow the light in our daily routine and we're following God's design in a weekly day of rest, intentionally unplugging from any demands, intentionally having a very light schedule, reading a book, spending time with people we love, listening to music, worshiping one time a week, setting that aside, it'll make all the difference in the world. And then monthly, is there one weekend per month that you really don't have anything planned? You don't have a lot of things, events going, or sports, or to where you guys as a family and you personally can take a break and take a rest. And then yearly, are there 2 weeks per year? Usually every 6 months, people need a full week of rest. Is there 2 weeks per year that you designate towards rest? That's habit. That's setting a routine or a lifestyle of rest that's following God's design for our bodies to be alternating between work and rest in a rhythmic pattern. Hygiene. Hygiene is really the environment. So setting the room at a good temperature, a cooler temperature, darker, so not a lot of light, not a lot of stimulation, noises, or screens on. The bedding, the mattress, and the pillow be quality. Grounded just simply means there's some products on the market that mirror the actual grounding currents, electrical type currents, frequencies that you would if you were outside. So the grounding concept in health and wellness space is really talking about contacting with the ground every day with our bare skin. So bare feet standing on the ground. And it has a way of kind of stabilizing us and And we have a lot of positive charges, and the ground has a lot of negative charges. And so you can buy grounding mats, you can buy grounding mattresses, grounding pillows. A lot of people have had some good success in getting to a better night's sleep when you have a quality pillow or when you have a grounded sheets or grounded mattress pad. A relationship. So we've worked with several clients who sleep. Why are they not sleeping? Well, their kids are coming in and waking them up. So, or their partner snores. How do we navigate some of those hygiene pieces of sleep and rest? And obviously that's dependent on the individual situation, but knowing and acknowledging, yes, this is affecting my sleep, and yes, I do need to make sure I am creating an environment that I can get the most rest, because that can allow me to be so much more of a better person for those who depend on me. So setting some boundaries for sleep in the relationship area can be really helpful. And then the last one, hormones. We'll get into a little bit of science here, but hormones involved in sleep are melatonin, cortisol, serotonin, and GABA, which are really neurotransmitters, and progesterone. So if you have trouble either falling asleep or staying asleep, which is really insomnia, working with a coach and coming up with a very personalized plan, utilizing some of these hormones and nutrients to support these hormones may be really helpful. So melatonin peaks at 10 and it falls at 6. So following that cycle, that 10 to 6 cycle, melatonin and cortisol do a dance. So when melatonin is high, cortisol is low, and then when cortisol is high, melatonin is low. It's produced from serotonin and the pineal gland, but it's really produced from serotonin in the gut. So the majority of neurotransmitters for mood and mental health are built in the gut. So when the gut balance is off, then or serotonin is low, then we're not making enough melatonin or enough quality melatonin. So melatonin is the key to falling asleep, giving us that tired feeling, that unwind, honoring that when it peaks at 10. And if you feel like that's not me, it's not peaking at 10, I could stay up till 12, 1 o'clock, chances are your melatonin and your cortisol dance may be a little out of rhythm. The cortisol piece is more stress related. And cortisol is one of your stress hormones, and it peaks 6 to 9 a.m. Sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm so draggy in the morning. And that may be that your cortisol is really too low. Your AM cortisol is bottomed out, and you don't have enough to feel perky and awake and ready to go. Or maybe it takes you an hour, hour and a half to get finally really ramping up and ready to start the day. Then chances are cortisol is not kicking in the morning as much as it should. And a lot of times that has to do with blood sugar regulation. A lot of it has to do with stress response. And then serotonin and GABA, they're neurotransmitters that are calming. Serotonin is kind of your anti-anxiety, and GABA is kind of your anti-mental racing. So if you feel like your brain cannot shut off at night, you're just laying there thinking of all the things you have to do, then I would suggest leave a notebook on your nightstand or a notepad and write everything down. Just get it out of your brain, write it down, feel like you have it written on you're not going to forget it. That's kind of a brain dump tip. And then there may be some relationship between serotonin and GABA for you that would be really helpful, and some actual supplementation and calming, especially if people have a hard time getting to sleep. And then we talk about progesterone. Now, progesterone is interesting. It's a sex hormone. It is produced by the adrenal glands and ovaries for women, and it turns GABA on. So GABA is that calming neurotransmitter that in what they call inhibitory. And when we turn GABA on, we're turning on that calm, that rest, and it triggers all of that into sleep. So a lot of times for females as they're going through menopause, or men for andropause, if we have progesterone that's bottomed out, we're going to feel it in a disrupted sleep pattern. So sometimes simply just taking a little bit of progesterone or some herbs that help support progesterone could help greatly in the hormone area of supporting rest. So let's look at our circadian rhythm. We're talking about rest as a rhythm. We talk about melatonin and cortisol. So here's their dance illustrated on a picture, on a graph. So you have cortisol in the blue. It's going to be low in the morning. It's starting to peak. It's starting to go. And as we get going and awake in our day, then it's going to be high energy, high energy, high energy. Sometimes in the afternoon, people's energy falls off, almost falls off too low, and we get that sleepiness. If it drops too low in the afternoon, then we know something is blood sugar related. blood sugar balance related. And as it drops off, we're ready to go to bed. But if we have this peak of cortisol, if we see this peak of cortisol and it goes up a little bit at night, like 10, 11, 12 o'clock, and it's actually going up when we get it tested with clients, we know that chances are there's something going on in the gut. There may be a parasite, there may be bacteria or something we need to deal with, because those bugs are more active at night. And when we see a higher cortisol and it doesn't continue to drop, it kind of comes back up, we look for more of the gut piece there. So cortisol is a big key, and then as it comes up in 6 a.m. it starts to peak again. But it does this dance with melatonin. So melatonin is high at night, right? And it starts to drop and fall and crosses paths with cortisol. Stays low, stays low, stays low, and then it starts getting dark at night, and we should be kicking in with melatonin. Now again, if our gut's off and our serotonin's low, we may feel like melatonin may be a little bit lower, and we may not be feeling as tired, or it may be harder to unwind, or it's harder to stay asleep. So melatonin would drop off to where it's really low when cortisol is peaking. All right, so 4 types of sleep dysfunction. If you're not sleeping well or need some improvement or help in the sleep area, I really encourage you, don't live another day with this. There's some natural, easy solutions. Maybe you've tried some of them. Maybe you're not sure, why, maybe they're not working for you, or maybe you're interested in re-looking at that. But dealing with insomnia and sleep apnea, circadian rhythm disruptions, that's rough. That is really rough. So difficulty falling or staying asleep, insomnia. There's some main reasons we'll look at why people have sleep issues, why the cortisol melatonin dance gets disrupted. But insomnia is a really difficulty. It can be acute, like if you're going through something really crisis mode, you literally can't sleep, or chronic. I've been dealing with this for years. People have sleep apnea, pauses in breathing while sleeping. It can be a pretty serious condition. It's obstructive, and it's usually very centralized. Some of the signs of sleep apnea, like waking up kind of gasping for breath, or feeling very, very tired in the morning. You may think, I'm not getting enough oxygen while I sleep. That's sleep apnea. Circadian rhythm disruptions, it's really just this natural 24-hour sleep-wake cycles that aren't working properly. You're not tired at night, but you are tired during the day. Just, not really getting on a rhythm. When babies are first born, that's what they have to navigate, kind of getting their circadian rhythm in a natural 24-hour sleep-wake cycle. And then narcolepsy is more of a diagnosable pathogenic type of neurological disorder where they really lose control of the whole sleep cycle. And there's 2 types of narcolepsy. All right, so what causes sleep disorders? Believe it or not, nutrition. Everything ties back to nutrition. Nutritional deficiencies. For one, magnesium. If we're really low and deficient in magnesium, sometimes it's really hard to fall asleep at night. Number 2, metabolic or hormone imbalances. We kind of highlighted that. It can be anything from sex hormones of estrogen and progesterone to serotonin and GABA to cortisol and melatonin. Just those imbalances can cause stress disorders. Then chronic stress or sleep disorders. Chronic stress is a big, huge one. I know for me, if I'm starting to not sleep well, I really need to realize I probably haven't rested well. So sleep and rest, right, is not the same, but they are. Rest is a lifestyle. Sleep is a time frame. So if I'm not resting well, then I'm usually not sleeping well. And by rest, I mean all the 7 types. Medical conditions, medications, of course, can cause sleep disturbances. That's one of the main side effects. So any of these 5, and maybe a combination for most people of why their sleep is disrupted. So when we know the cause and we know what's involved hormonally, we can make some pretty good strategic steps towards improving sleep and really improving energy. So targeted nutrition. So if nutrition deficiencies are a big piece, or a reason why people wake up at night a lot of times, especially between like 2 and 3 a.m., is because their cortisol, their blood sugar's dropped. So if blood sugar drops too low at night, then we wake up. So eating a protein snack, just a light protein snack, or even a fat snack before bed could help solve this. And I've had several clients that really, all they did was add a boiled egg before they went to bed, or a spoonful of nut butter, or Small container of Greek yogurt. Something that's protein or has a little bit of fat in it before bed can help keep our blood sugar stable through the night and not wake us up. Obviously, keeping, water and fluids to a minimum after 8:30 would be good too. Nutrients such as magnesium we mentioned, or amino acids. Amino acids build neurotransmitters. Fatty acids build hormones. Calcium. So sometimes people eating a bowl of ice cream at night before they go to bed, they're getting that protein, they're getting that fat, and they're getting the calcium. Most ice cream that you buy in the store isn't worth that much, but if it's a good organic, full fat, maybe 2, 3, 4 ingredients at most, then maybe that's not a bad idea. But calcium is a calming mineral. Vitamin B6 is a calming mineral. If people have a lot of PMS symptoms, and PMS translates into poor sleep, that one cycle for women in a month, vitamin B6 and magnesium would be fantastic to add as a supplement. And maybe even just those two could help really regulate sleep again. And then supplements, melatonin is probably the most commonly known supplement for sleep. And for a lot of people it works, and other people it doesn't. And sometimes that's related to the type of melatonin they're taking. And it's really a time-released one is probably the best. But even just plain minerals, like a liquid mineral combination, or natural calm, which is magnesium, dissolved in some water at night, maybe enough. A little bit of progesterone, either a drop or a cream or troche. A little bit of progesterone could help sleep better. A cortisol supplement, cortisol manager, and even some precursors to some neurotransmitters, like 5-HTP is a precursor for serotonin, or St. John's wort, vitamin B complex, or GABA itself. You can buy GABA in a supplement store. So doing the supplementation for sleep is a little bit trickier, and it's a little bit more to it than just going to the store and buying one. So it's really good to work with a coach and see all the pieces that could impact your sleep, instead of just going out and buying a supplement and start taking it, it's not working. Well, there may be a few more pieces of the puzzle that we need to figure out, but sleep is related to nutrition. All right, sleep restoration rebalance. Number 1, establish a consistent rest time. Number 2, maintain an optimal environment. Number 3, nutritional sleep support. Number 4, structural rest support. And number 5, exercise. I don't know how many times I've had clients say, I sleep really good if I get my 30-minute walk in the day. If I'm busy, I'm active, I'm moving around, I sleep fine. As soon as I stop my exercise routine, then I lose the sleep. And it is interesting how it all works together. If we're eating well, we're on a good routine, we're exercising, then we sleep well. If we pull out some of those lifestyle pieces, then some of the other ones start to fall by the way too. So, God's pattern and promised rest. When we look at rest in the Bible, as we close out the lesson on rest, God's pattern is on the 7th day, God ended his work, which he had done, and he rested from all his work, which he had done. Then God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, and because in it he rested from all his work he had created and made. The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Therefore, the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath, meaning God designed this day for us. We don't have to feel trapped or limited. We need a rest day. And God's promise for rest in the New Testament translates from Hebrews 4. Therefore, since a promise remains for entering his rest, let us fear, lest any of you seem to have come short of it because of unbelief. Entering the rest of God requires faith. There, therefore, remains a rest for the people of God. That's a promise. There's going to be a place and a kingdom and a time where his people can rest from their work. For he who has entered his rest has himself ceased from his work, as God did from his. Let us therefore be diligent to enter that rest, lest anyone fall short, according to the example of disobedience. So when we don't have faith in God's promise, we may fall short of his promised rest. When we continue in faith, continue in believing who God is, he has our best interest at heart, his plan for us, we'll be faithful to enter his rest. And I'm sure everyone listening to this lesson is very motivated to build a life of rest, and then have eternal rest in God's presence forever. So as we close out the module on rest, there are 7 types. They're based on habit, hygiene, and hormones, and what can we do to really improve our sleep. and improve our rhythms of rest. What can cause some sleep issues? We looked at that, and we looked at biblical rest, how to restore some natural circadian rhythms. That's where working with a coach is super helpful to restore poor sleep and really regain. For some people, it's really regain their vitality, regain their energy, regain their life. And it all links together with diet, with exercise, with stress. And there's some key pieces. Let's figure it out if that's something you're struggling with. There's a rest prescription survey you can fill out and get a rating. When you enter it in the calculator at the end to do your rest profile, it'll have some specific recommendations related to your rest prescription survey. All right, we'll see you in the next lesson, lesson 3 on exercise.